When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gane, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this extra special episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gane. I feel like there's going to be extra
special.
laughing. It is extra special.
Exactly, because there's going to be extra laughing because we're all giddy and excited about life.
Oh my gosh. I know. Did you think you could get more excited about life?
Yes, I think there's always more levels, so prepare yourself. So today we're going to be talking about two different paths or experiences you can have with manifesting. Yes. I don't want to say anything more about that. So, Cassie, what are you excited about?
Oh my gosh, to go with this topic, I'm excited about my clients. I mean, I'm excited about my own life and my clients. Like, I just see
they're a part of your life.
They are a part of my life, and it's so fun. I'm seeing in a really big way some of the things we're going to talk about today, which is how they're being set up to get for their life to. Their lives are already amazing, right? Because they've created it that way. We've been creating it, but I can just see like puzzle pieces just click, 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 click. Like we're just getting to where there's going to be like one more piece, which is the big thing, right? So for some of them, it's lots of clients. For some of them, it's a big role on, Broadway or in a movie. And I just see it all clicking into place. And for me, I'm a scientist. I never wanted to do studies, but I really love to look for the patterns and stuff, right? I think studies always, I was thinking about this yesterday, they feel too constrictive. And what I want to know is not why in 60% of the people it went this way. I want to know why in the other 40% it didn't, right? Because I think that's where the information for me is, right? Is what was different about this person that XYZ didn't change them in this way or whatever, whatever the study is, right? And that's what I'm interested in. And so I love when I get to see these things clicking in my clients and they've been with me for a while, so I can see just on a bigger level, oh, I see what's coming. I already knew that was coming, but dang, I can see it coming now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and it's
exciting
all about,
for both of you guys.
Yes, it's so, I get equally excited for their success as my own, which is fun. Yeah. Yeah. What are you excited about?
I'm excited about big stuff too, big stuff in life. And I mean, you guys know, you heard I mentioned about I'm launching my community, the Live Your Truth community. And I did the first pre-little launch, and it was so exciting. Doesn't describe it, because it's the fulfillment of a dream. And it feels small and big at the same time, because I know it's just the beginning and it's happening. And I'm getting to experience everything that we talk about at a whole new level. And I'm so excited. So Yay! That's what I'm excited about. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And it's going to be such a good vessel for me to grow, to be able to share that growth and that process with all of you.
Yes.
That's exciting. And one of the biggest things, I've been telling Cassie, is the experience, the journey of this is exciting. And we're going to dive more into it because it does relate to what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so do you want to introduce our topic a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, so I don't know if we settle on this, but it's really what we're going to talk about is manifesting stuff. And when we say stuff, we don't mean there's nothing wrong with it's just it's more one thing at a time, right? It's the stuff. It's a specific oh, I want to manifest this car. I want to manifest this job. I want to manifest this, right? versus manifesting a freaking awesome life, like the best life you can dream of. Like I like to say, live the best story that you can tell. So the difference in like manifesting this thing that would be really awesome and living this best story that you can imagine and you can tell.
Yeah, exactly. I think last week this kind of came to the forefront when, actually, let me backtrack a sec. I remember a couple months ago, Cassie and I said something like, when people say, oh, what have you manifested? And I'm like, well, like my life. What do you mean? Like everything. And I'm like, I don't really consider like, hey, I manifested a guitar. Hey, I manifested this new car. Hey, I manifested this person in my life. I am more like, I manifested the amazing experience that I'm calling my life. And that's what fires me up. And to help people do that. And so, and Cass said the same thing. She's like, yeah, I don't like manifest little stuff either. And so that's, I think, what we're going to talk about. There's these two different pathways to manifesting, like whether you're going after the big stuff or not the big stuff, like the life experience, or you're interested in manifesting the more like one-off physical things or events, kind of something like that.
Yeah.
And last week last week or a couple days ago, I'm getting a little mixed up. It kind of hit home when I was getting dressed, and you guys who know me a little more personally will understand like about my mornings. And I have this look that I'm like, I want to be the person that wears, comfy yoga clothes, like yoga pants and a comfy shirt. And I was getting dressed in that, and I had just had my green drink, which is a huge part of my morning. I was just gonna go do some yoga. I had been for a walk with my love, and I'm like, oh my God, like all of these things. And then we passed the water, and then the pets are downstairs, and like everything. I'm about to go work on my business, and it was another one of those moments, which happens all the time, where I'm like, I'm living my dream life. And I'm like, and it hit me. And I was like, this is one of those bigger things. I manifested this. And it felt like that. It felt like, oh, I manifested this, but this is the big stuff. And this didn't start last year. This didn't start 2 months ago when I started thinking about what I wanted and then deciding, this has been in evolution for my whole life, deliberately for the past 10-ish years, I would say.
Yes.
So, we're going to talk about that, the bigness.
Yeah, the bigness. And not that, and I just want to preface it, like, this stuff is cool. And I teach people that, I don't teach them to do that. People manifest stuff along the way, right? Along the journey.
Yeah.
And so this stuff is awesome, right? Like every once in a while I'll remember like a story and I'm like, oh, I got to write that down because they're awesome. I have some awesome like things that I've manifested, and it was all part of this bigger thing, right? But like, so I forget because I'm like, well, like that's cool. But like what's really cool is like what you were describing, right? Is like, oh, I'm in this life, which what I want to point out was so awesome about that is that I guess people would say like the relationship is a big thing that counts. A lot of people will one-off try and do the relationship, but like nothing in there was like super huge, and yet it's everything, right? Like it's huge. Don't get me, it is huge, but by sort of out there standards, or a lot of times the way people teach manifesting, like there's not huge boxes in that, but that is everything to me and you. Right. And it's everybody gets to pick their path. Yes.
It was literally like I was living an exact script I've written. And I know you.
Best.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't contain myself.
I know. It's so exciting. And so the other really amazing part of this, which the more and more you practice this, you guys understand how it's the awareness of those little things that make the big things so magical. So yes, when you're making the aim to create this life, to deliberately create this life, be this person and step into it, you get to the little things along the way are the byproducts of that. And it makes it fun. It makes it so fun. But the the magic is seeing all that, is being so freaking aware of why stuff's coming in and when it's coming in. And this is, yes, for all the good stuff, but going through the more challenging stuff too, like having a miscommunication with your partner and then being like, oh, I felt this way and I was insecure about this, so that made me react like that. And then knowing that, having the strength or the courage or the vulnerability to express that to your partner, like that, then you're like, oh shit, I'm growing. Like I'm stepping up, I'm being that person. And so going through those things, having the awareness of the consciousness is all through all of that is what adds to the magic. It makes it as magic as like the fun, seeing the fun numbers, getting the parking spaces, talking to the right people, getting the right clients, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I just went off, but it's so exciting.
It is so exciting. And for a moment I forgot like we were recording. I was just like, yes. Like, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna need to say some stuff next.
Yeah, that's perfect in the moment. I love it.
Yeah. And what I will say, like you mentioned parking spaces, and I always go parking spaces because it's a lot of times what people want to graduate to, right? So in some of my early stuff, I attract my clients by saying, like, you're ready to manifest the car, you've got the parking space, right? And what I will say on this topic is, like, when you're manifesting a parking space that's part of a magic life, it's like, it's so good because it's not just a parking space. It's like, I do this. Like, this is me. This is how I live. Things work out for me. Like, it says this bigger thing, right? It's not about a space. Even though the space
it's connected.
Is awesome.
It's connected to your bigger vision. And so it's so much, it has more meaning than this, oh, I manifested a parking space. So what? It's like, oh my God, you know what this means?
Right? Oh my gosh. Do you want to hear the best parking space story that I've ever had? Because I didn't really start that way. Like, I think, because I think it's in The Secret. It's in Mama Gina's book too, which is one of the first books that, when I first hired a coach, she had me read. But, and there was the story about this woman who always got this front row parking spot, which is what reminded me of this story. So a couple weeks ago, I'm going with a friend. I'm going to see a friend and a client in an improv show. And it's First Friday in Denver in the Santa Fe Arts District. So it is like, there's people everywhere. There is like no parking. We timed it. So literally we were driving up, like, I mean, I knew improv shows usually don't start on time, but we were on time, but we were just like barely on time, right? Like 5 minutes early. And we turned down into this like part of Denver. And I'm like, oh man, how is this going to be awesome? Right. And literally there's a parking spot, the only spot on the street. Actually, somebody else couldn't parallel park into it, and so they drove off. Like, they literally held the spot until we came around the corner because they were trying to park there. And my friend is an awesome parallel parker, so we not down the street, but like literally across the street. And for me, like that was awesome, but it was more about like my life is easy. It always works. Like I don't have to plan like, oh, we got to plan a half hour to make sure we have parking, or we got to do this, or we got to do that, right? Like, no, it all worked out perfectly. All the steps leading up to that, we literally got the front row parking spot. So even though we only had like 2 minutes by the time we parked, like all we had to do was walk through the front door, like, and it was just so perfect. And then we walked out and we left and we were on our way. And it's just like, that's when it's part of the magic of your whole beingness and how you live your life, which is fun.
Yes, exactly. I guess that's another way to say what we're saying too, is one way is you're in the beingness, and one way is how would you say the other side? Like you're creating or you're manifesting? One way you're manifesting, and you're manifesting everything. Everything in your life is a manifestation. Right.
Like,
so
yeah, you're doing specific manifestations. You're trying to make one thing happen and another thing happen versus being in the beingness of someone who is a manifester.
Yeah, exactly. And Cassie and I both, as you know, love this way, love the beingness way, and are big believers in that go for the life, go for the beingness versus only going for the manifesting the stuff. I was interviewed on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and one of the questions the woman asked me was, hey, you say on your website that you help certain people better. You don't necessarily help people with who just want to manifest a car or a boyfriend or whatever. And she's like, why is that? Isn't that what manifesting is? Isn't that what using the law of attraction is? And I'm like, no, that's not what it's really about. I'm like, but I could have said it in a better way in terms of that's one way to do it. But my preference is to go for that bigger stuff. I love the growth work. I love the stuff that comes with stepping into the person and creating that life that's like authentic to you and fulfilling your purpose. That's what's exciting. So that was just interesting because I think that generally, probably not for people who are listening to our show, but generally there might be this idea out there that manifesting is getting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or that next thing you want, right?
Yeah, the next thing you want.
Yeah, which for me is limiting in a couple ways, right? I just had like relationship pop into my mind. It's like, oh, if you're manifesting a boyfriend or a girlfriend, like, then that's the only thing you can focus on. And like, no, like you can set that intention, you can do that work, and you can go create this other amazing life. And something else popped up as you were talking. I'm like, oh, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but the more you be in the beingness and you are a manifester, I know you've had this experience because I'm sure we've talked about it. Like, you'll just have a thought, and then that thing will, like, literally one thought, like, oh, it would be nice if I had a bike. And 2 days later, someone randomly is like, hey, do you want this bike? You know?
Lisa does that all the time. Like, I think I told you guys last week, she was like, oh, we could consider getting a kayak. And the next day she came home, oh, my boss is going to give us a kayak.
That's awesome.
I'm like, yes, of course.
Yeah. So you still get, I think what I want to say is like, if there's anyone like, you know, I'm speaking to you if you're like, oh, but what if I miss out on the stuff because like the things I really want, right? Because that's not what we're saying. Like those things just get easier. Like they just show up, right? Like I want a kayak. Of course you do. Here it is. Because when you're in that space, when you are being the person, like I'm going to go back to like, you know, the beingness of being a manifester who is creating this life, like you're just the person who things happen to and you get what you want, right? And so when it's that thought of like, oh yeah, I'd love to go kayaking and maybe we need a kayak, like, oh, here you go. Yeah, it's here, you know?
Yeah. So it's a great example. So when you're instead of making your focus, I'm going to manifest a kayak, you make your focus, I'm the person that gets what she wants. Then everything comes in. That's your beingness. Yeah, I get what I want. Right. I ask for it and I get it. And, what was I going to say? I lost it.
One of my clients said this the other day. We were talking and she said, you know, like the more I do this work, like the more it's just like it happens faster. And I'm like, yeah, because the universe knows you're serious. You know you're serious. So you've become the person who gets the thing, you know, because you've been continually stepping into that. And so like the universe like, oh, she's serious. Like there's so much behind it, right? It's like you've become the person who knows what they want, right? So you know, I don't have to wishy-washy, right? Like it's like you're not going to change your mind tomorrow. I can give you a kayak. You're not going to decide you want a canoe tomorrow. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I love this kayak example because it's so fun and there's so much to work with there, right?
Yeah. And I think, I remembered what I wanted to say, and is that at times I have struggled in my head with, but I like having stuff, you know, and maybe some of you are thinking out there, like, but I do want this, and I do want this new bike, and I do want this great house, and that's awesome, and you are totally allowed to want stuff. And
Yes.
the thing, like, and that's an important part of manifesting is allowing yourself to want what you want. And what Cass and I are saying is just the pathway there is we don't make the thing the goal. Is the thing is that it comes when you reach for the person who has that thing and the beingness part. But it isn't, it's essential to let yourself have desires and get excited about having this thing, having this new thing, because if we cut that off, if you're listening, oh, well, Cassie and Ginny said it's not good to try to manifest something. And and that brings in resistance up right away, right? Then we're cutting off our access to source, because we are meant to have desires. We naturally have desires, and that's a good thing. Let those dreams flow, and then let them be your guidance as to who you need to become to experience those things, to get those things easily.
Yeah. And I would add, and right now I'm envisioning where you live now, right? On the water, everything you always said, but it was always part of something else, right? It wasn't just like, I want to live on the water and I want XYZ. It was, I live on the water, even in when you were single, right? It was like, I want to live on the water. It
sounds so funny to say that.
I know, right? I was like, oh yeah, that was a time.
That was a time.
But like, it was that. It was following that desire. It was getting excited about like, ooh, I could get this condo, or oh, look at this condo, or this is a possibility, or maybe I would move across the country here, right? You follow those desires, but you also built the life. It was never like, oh, I just want a place on the water. It was like, I want a place on the water with the love of my life, with all these in my business, right? That I can walk away, I can like take a break from business and walk down to the water. Like all of the things that surround that thing.
Yes. That's exactly. Do you want to talk a little bit, Cass, about a little bit more about what people think manifesting is? Because when we were chatting before, you had that really good point.
Oh, I did?
About the one time thing?
100. Oh, yeah. So people, should we, I do want to talk about that. But I think that could be a whole show.
Okay.
So do we want to maybe just, I don't know, talk a little bit about short game versus long game?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
I'm playing the long game.
Me too.
I feel like that's what this is. That's like is a good way to sum up what we're talking about, is like the two different paths to manifesting is a short game or long game.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely. Because the short game is, which, like, I'm like, oh, what else could we call this? Because like short game and softball is like my favorite. But like the long game means long term. So we were talking before, like I talk about this in Double Your Business. If you've read that, what we're talking about is, I call it you can do the quick, slow way, or you can do the slow, quick way. And I'm long game. So I'm always like slow, quick. And what that means is I'm going to build myself and let my life come in, instead of putting the energy and the focus on, I want this now, I want this, I want this. One of the reasons I'm really good at what I do is that I'm willing, like I want it all. So I'm willing to like play the long game, right? I'm willing to go, I don't want to do short things that can go get me XYZ. I want to play the long game, and I want to have this entire life that I want. Ooh, which maybe, we'll talk about it in the next show. Yeah,
So
like how you have to make
juicy.
choices, right? Yeah. I just thought of a big choice I made.
One of the other elements to those two options is one generally, and I don't want to put out rules because anything's possible, but one generally has more effort or struggle or trying with it. And I don't know if you heard the words Cass use, but when she's like, I'm going to let what I want come to me, that's when manifesting is easy. That's when it feels like magic. And that's when the whole path unfolds effortlessly. When you're letting it come to you, it's a whole different attitude. One is like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to manifest this. And one is like, I'm just going to let everything come into me that I want.
Oh my gosh. Let's say that again.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. What was your next point?
Well, that's it. One is easy and one is full of more struggle. And I mean, I feel like I don't want to make this proclamation, but these might be stages. You know, I think people might start in the I'm going to manifest this. And then once they work with us, they realize, hey, this is actually the more powerful way is to get to do this stuff. This way is this path.
Yeah.
And they both serve amazing purposes and fulfill different or satisfy different desires at different times in your life. And it might not be I start in this one, I do this one. It might be more of a fluid thing. I go back and forth at different times in my life. And that's awesome.
It is awesome. It's all awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah. I think that's a great, should we call that like it's all awesome and it's fluid and you can go back and forth and you can do it however you want? Is that like a perfect way to end this episode?
Yeah. Okay, so let's just summarize the two kind of one experience is like the longer game. I do want to talk more about this. The short game versus long game. And the being the person goes with that longer game and you get the stuff that you want. Oh yeah, that's the other point. I just wanted to add it because the one little thing is like we want stuff because of how we think it will make us feel. And when you're going after the feeling, I feel like that's more attached to the longer game. And I probably just opened up a whole new thing. So hey, we are going to continue this next week.
Yes.
All right. Have an amazing week, everyone. And Cass and I will catch you next time.
Bye.
Go be awesome.
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.